And welcome back to Disciples of the Force. We are so glad that you're listening. We got rid of Jaren. We heard the complaints, so we kicked him off. He's never coming back. No, I'm just kidding. He's a great guest. We'll probably have him back on. But with that, don't forget to listen to Film Fixation if you like movie podcasts. But my good friend Austin over here has got some Star Wars news for us to start it off.
Absolutely, yeah. So really not too much news going on. You look up Star Wars news right now, and I just pulled this up because I actually hadn't looked before. Slate Magazine says Ahsoka is yet more proof that Star Wars has a Jedi problem. I'd like to read that article.
That is an interesting article.
But here's the news. So the other day, Disney came out with a bunch of delayed dates for all of their shows, like on their Marvel slate and some other things.
Okay.
They didn't say anything about the Acolyte or Skeleton Crew.
Is that good or bad?
It is kind of, well, it's bad, regardless, that Disney is pushing back dates. So we know, and there was a leak, that Skeleton Crew, which was supposed to release this November or December, is going to get pushed back until summer of 2024.
Yucky.
Or maybe a whole year to November 24.
Oh.
Andor is not looking like it's going to release next year. It's looking like it's going to be early 2025. Again, these are just leaks, but I believe them with everything else that's getting pushed back. And the Acolyte, which was also supposed to be an early 2024 or fall 2024, it's looking like 2025. So
jeez,
that sucks. Everything's getting delayed. So,
well, maybe they just paid their writers.
Yeah, maybe if Bob Iger wasn't such a freaking butthole, we could get these shows. But
yeah, well, that sucks. But hey, the reason why I was asking if it was good or bad is because I was wondering if they didn't have a release date meant it was still kind of on track, or if it meant that it was so pushed back that either it was going to get canceled or.
Yeah, so there were a couple of Marvel things, and they were taken off the schedule. And so that kind of language, I think, will just mean canceled eventually. So like Ironheart on the Marvel side is off the schedule. That's just going to get canceled, I believe.
Wow.
So if we see something like that with any of these Star Wars shows where it goes off the schedule,
it's gone,
I think.
I think that's probably accurate.
Yeah.
Well, dang. Well, that sucks.
It does.
Well, with that, then we're going to jump into Ahsoka. But just a little bit before, because we do want to talk about Ahsoka, because this last episode was really awesome. It's my favorite so far. I've been seeing rumors on the interwebs, and a lot of people, what their criticisms are with Ahsoka. I wanted to ask you about it. What is your take with Ahsoka being very stoic? Do you like that? Do you hate that? Because some people are like, I hate how stoic she is.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like it, and here's why. I think Rosario Dawson captures Ahsoka's, like, there's little flashes of the Ahsoka that we know from animation, veiled within that stoicism. So I like it because I think she's able to balance things. And I always thought that even during Rebels, she was a little too stoic for my liking. Okay. Yeah. But I also saw a video kind of criticizing it, and they were like, even in Rebels, she was her regular self. And I was like, maybe I need to revisit that, because I remember her being like quiet and stoic and not very fun.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was more kind of how it is now, just flashes of it.
Yeah.
And with that, like, it's like, well, it's a character who's growing. Like, she's kind of been isolated for a long time.
Yeah.
She's a Jedi, well, a former Jedi. Can't be running around so everyone can find her.
Right.
And she's growing up. When you grow up, you become a little bit more calm. So she's not going to be that crazy, snips that you see in the very beginning.
Exactly.
That'd be very weird to see her that crazy energetic.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm okay with it. I wish that there was a little bit more of that, like, just because it's the character that I grew up with. But I understand the change, and I appreciate it. You know,
I agree. Yeah, I think it's perfect. Really, truly, I like it. I don't hate it. So I'm gonna just go off these bullet points here before we jump in. So a lot of people teasing Sabine going to be a dark side user. This stems from her being a Mandalorian, meaning that they're typically that way. And what really sold me, because there's a video on it by Screen Crush, we love them. We talk about
we love Screen Crush.
Oh, 1 second, my wife's calling me. Does that ruin the recording? No, it doesn't. She's fine. With that was one thing that I liked from that video was it showed her when she was training with Kanan and how she got, when she finally started fighting, she was angry. So she kind of access that side of the Force. And some people were like, well, maybe she can't, access the Force when she's peaceful. Maybe she has to be that kind of dark side,
Right.
angry is how she can access it, which I think it's a good point. I don't know. We'll see, but I liked it. It made sense to me.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Yeah. And I mean, the Mandalorian that we do know, the first Mandalorian Jedi, he didn't stick with the Order, and he wasn't a conventional Jedi, so
right. Yeah.
It would make sense.
Because I mean, if you're not having a lot of Jedi coming out, it's probably because how they're brought up and how they are. So, and then this isn't coming from me. I kind of talked to you about this, but I did see that I can't find where it is canonically, but apparently this is canon. Source being Screen Crush again.
Right.
That the first Jedi used both light and dark until they labeled one as bad and the other good, which was a really cool thought if you think about it. But then some people brought up a lot of good points, like, well, Yoda's what he's saying, like that leads to the path. Once you go to the dark side, if you start using it, you're full in.
Right.
So I don't know, but that is, I mean, you would be so powerful if you could pull from light and dark, kind of like Ahsoka did this episode, kind of a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I liked it.
It's a great point. And it's kind of interesting, too, her character, because she's not a Jedi in that she follows those same exact ideals and the ideology. But like after the episode with the father, the son, and the daughter, we know that she's like basically the embodiment of the light side. That's like right. She took on that mantle pretty much from the daughter.
Yeah.
So she is the embodiment of the light side, but she doesn't have to work exclusively with it. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. I can't wait to see a little bit more of.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Well, if we do see more of her, she died.
Right.
Spoiler.
Huge spoiler. No, I'm just kidding. The last thing I want to say, and this has never been brought out to me before, but I never realized that basically all Star Wars projects that have come out series-wise, except for The Mandalorian, have I think even The Mandalorian, The Mandalorian as well, it's been like movies cut up. It's not like an actual series. Like, they made a point that Andor is like a series. You have arcs within it. And I was like, oh, I never even, and maybe that's why it's kind of, sometimes when I'm watching the series, I'm like, it's kind of hard to watch. And I think it's just because it's just a long, drawn-out movie that's not having these, what are those called? Events. I just forgot. I just said 5 seconds.
Well, there's not like a climax. Right. In TV, conventionally.
Right.
You start on a lull, you end on a climax or a cliffhanger so that you're ready for next week's episode. Right. And then there's a resolution, working to a climax, end of episode.
Right.
That's been one issue with a lot of the Disney Plus stuff, is they're just not formatted that way. Yeah. And you can really, really tell. And that's why there's a lot of variation between the episode times as well. You can have a 50-minute episode, and then you can have a 30-minute episode 2 episodes later, and they're not structured the same at all. But it's just like, oh, well, this is probably the best place to cut it in our longer story,
Yeah. That makes more sense that way they cut it so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, when I saw it, I was like, maybe that's probably why some of these aren't doing so hot. It's not like a traditional series. I mean, at one point you want to kind of break the mold, but at the same, you got to have it similar enough that it's not hard to watch.
Yeah. And I think if they were trying to break the mold in like a creative way or something that served the story, it would work. But they're not trying to break the mold for that. They're just, it's the best that they can do with the writing that they have, which is unfortunate. So
yeah. Anyway, that was with what I had for going in before, because I saw those things going into the week.
Okay.
Now let's jump into Ahsoka 4, part 4, as another thing, part 4, not episode 4, because it's anyway. We're going to get into some big spoilers. So I don't know if when you listen to this, if you're kind of like, oh, I want to listen to it before, but there's some pretty big things in here that if you haven't watched it yet, I really recommend you go watching it.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't want to ruin that for you because it's awesome. But yeah, go ahead. What do you got?
Just a huge payoff to fans of the genre, and I don't want to get ahead of myself. So maybe let's just start at the beginning. Okay.
Okay.
First thing I noticed as I boot up Disney Plus is the thumbnail that I got for the episode. Not the thumbnail, I guess, but like the teaser on the Disney Plus homepage. Anyway, is a picture of Marrok. So it's like, okay, this episode's going to be big with Marrok. Like, we might see who he is. There's a lot of rumors flying around about who he might be. So this could be a big thing. Ends up not being so much, but an interesting thing nonetheless. We'll talk about that.
Right.
So that's the first thing I had.
Okay. The first thing I had, it's perfect because mine goes in kind of later in, is this kind of side note. Loved the music to the intro.
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought it sounded really cool.
It's very cool.
And then when the title came up, that was sick.
Yeah.
Fallen Jedi, which we knew we were going to get a lot of background to Baylan and Shin.
Yeah,
Shin
Baylan
Hati?
Scroll and Shin Hati. Yeah. Another thing, Ahsoka mentions when she's talking to Sabine, she calls Thrawn the heir to the Empire, which is really cool because it was the first Thrawn book. And like people have talked about how this is pretty much just like Dave Filoni's rehashing of that original, now non-canon, but returning to canon essentially Thrawn series. So that's really cool that he nails it right on the head right there. This episode's called Fallen Jedi. So who is the Fallen Jedi in this episode?
It's a good point because you have Baylan and then you have Ahsoka, who's also a fallen Jedi, which I think it's a very perfect title.
Right,
it kind of covers both sides.
Also,
let me hear it.
Again, spoilers. So if you've listened this far, you know the end. There's a great cameo at the very end by Hayden Christensen, Fallen Jedi. There.
Oh shoot!
So
yeah,
yeah,
that's a really good title.
Yeah, I love. That's one thing that this series and a lot of Star Wars series have done well. Is those titles with double meanings and multiple meanings. So
that's true. I mean, because The Mandalorian, at least season 3 had a bunch that I was like, oh, we can go to both sides. What I did like, so when Ahsoka was talking to Sabine in the very beginning, she says, sometimes it's hard to do what is right regardless of our personal feelings. You just have to do what is right.
Yeah.
And it was like, to me, it's like, oh, that's a high, like highlighting when she left the Order. Like, she had personal feelings with Anakin. She didn't want to leave Anakin, but she knew what was right for her was to leave.
That's a great point.
So I was like, that's a cool allusion to, like, hey, when she had left Fallen Jedi yet again.
Right. Yeah, that's great. And then that's an interesting point because Baylan brings that up later when he's talking to her about like why she left and all that stuff. So very cool.
Yeah, super awesome.
Next thing I've got is the planet that they're on, Cetos. I kind of got like a Dagobah vibe when Huyang's outside of the ship repairing things and he's like being stalked by that HK droid. Just reminded me of R2 getting scared on Dagobah and then getting stalked. So
yeah. Well, yeah, just yet again another part in this series that they've taken from the original trilogy that you see. Like, oh, wow.
Yeah, I think it works really well.
Yeah, it looks great. I loved it.
Yeah. I also liked seeing Sabine all suited up in her Mandalorian armor.
Yeah.
And I turned to you and I said, a Jedi and a Mandalorian, they'll never see it coming. Have you seen that meme before?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think Ahsoka says it in The Mandalorian. I think that's where it comes from. But then there's a meme of it where Kanan and Sabine and Obi-Wan and Satine and anyway, there's just a bunch of Jedi Mandalorian pairings, and it's like they'll never see it coming. It happens all the time in Star Wars, so kind of funny.
That is funny. One part I did like when that fighting started is I thought it was super sick when Ahsoka grabbed the droid. She used the Force and put the droid in front of the other droid, and he shot it.
Right.
I was like, that was cool. That was really cool. And then the next thing I have was just we believe when Shin Hati drops her robe or her cloak, reminded us of Darth Maul dropping his cloak before his fight. So super cool. Just yet again another callback to the prequels and original trilogy.
I should have double checked that.
We believe. I mean, if it's not that, we've seen it before, 100%.
Right. And the thing is, there are a lot of parallels to Shin Hati and Darth Maul that we've seen. Most notably, the probe droid shot. It's like exactly like the probe droid returning to Maul in A Phantom Menace. Can you see that being shared?
Yeah,
I don't know if I need to zoom, but anyway.
What's the last one? Oh, it's the original.
Yeah, it's just the
that
original.
was the one it came from. That's funny.
But it's kind of funny. Now they can add another one to that.
Yeah, that's true. That's funny. That's good. It's a good meme.
Good meme.
It's a good little meme.
Okay, next thing I've got is we've got Carson from repeated appearances on The Mandalorian. He's here with the New Republic and he's helping Harrison Dula,
which is super cool.
Pretty cool.
So now we're kind of bridging even more The Mandalorian with Ahsoka, which is cool. And I don't know if this was before or after, but we also did notice that Marrok, whatever you pronounce his name.
Yes.
His lightsaber is like crimson red.
Yes.
And yet again, Shin Hati and Baylan, what's his last? Scroll. There's orange and kind of alludes to the fact that they're dark Jedi. And he's
Yeah.
a Sithy, which we don't know because of anyway.
Yeah. I'd like to get into that because
sure.
the next thing I've got is the way that Marrok is killed is the same way that Obi-Wan kills Maul
Right.
on Tatooine, that like strike through across the chest, which was very cool. And we were like, oh, we're going to see his face, whatever.
Right.
And then he just disappears in a dust of Dathomirian magic. So I wonder who he was, or if it even matters, if it was just a fake out. Because we know that Mother Talcin, who was a witch of Dathomir, was the reason that Maul was regained his strength, got his legs back, or got new legs. And Savage Opress, they were both powered by Mother Talcin's magic, or enhanced by it. And so I just think it's interesting that there's both that allusion to Marrok being killed in the same manner as Maul, and then also being enhanced by Dathomirian magic. So just interesting, something to look out for. I wonder if it'll explain a little bit more in the future, or if that's just meant to be a nod to that.
Yeah, I feel like it will be, because I mean, they were both so surprised when it happened, and then you saw Shin Hati get super pissed when it happened. So I mean, I think it's going to pull something from that, but it was definitely a surprise. Nothing what we thought was going to happen. So I liked it.
So very interesting. So we'll see.
But definitely, Dathomir magic because of the green.
Yes.
So
So that goes to, I was pretty tough on that hologram stuff being a few episodes ago. I was saying that the hologram was certainly from a different galaxy, or from Thrawn's Empire's technology, from the Chiss. But it's Dathomirian, I guess.
I mean, maybe it's not.
I don't know. Maybe it's a mix of both. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I think you have a point with the gold being from another galaxy, being from Thrawn.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. I did like how when Lord Baylan, as they call him, I don't know what defines a lord in Star Wars, but when he was talking to Ahsoka, and kind of you could just tell that he's like, you can tell he's not a full Sith, like the way he was just interacting with her, just like, I think I have something here, one must destroy in order to create, you know, which is like, it's more of like a holistic view of it all.
Yeah.
Not like only this side. It's kind of like seeing it all, which makes sense if he's pulling from light and dark. You see the whole thing. So I don't know, I really liked it.
Yeah, that's a great point. I kind of struggled to understand his motivation, because earlier in the series, he talks about, like, he takes pity on Ahsoka.
Right.
And he doesn't want to kill her, and he's like, there are so few Jedi left. So it was interesting, that kind of change in attitude here, where he was willing to kill her, or at least willing to stop her. So he's a really cool, deep character that I think I'd like to learn more about. So I'm excited for that.
Which, unfortunately, we know we're going to come to an end with him.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah, that's rough. But I do like that we do get to know that he was a former Jedi during the Jedi Order. Like,
yes, he knew Anakin.
Right, because he's not like Kanan was technically, but he's not like a Ezra, kind of formed out later.
Right.
It was definitely, he was in the Order, knew who, I said Hayden Christensen, knew who Anakin was.
Yeah, and of course, there's probably no allusion to him anywhere else in Star Wars, because it seems like he's an actual new character. But it'll be interesting to see what relationship he had with Anakin.
I'm excited.
And I think we'll learn more about that.
Yeah.
I also liked when they were dueling, him and Ahsoka. He is that actor, Ray Stevenson. Is that his name?
I don't know. I never know actors.
Let me pull that up. Sorry, Ray Stevenson. Yep. So Ray Stevenson is just physically so much bigger than Rosario Dawson, who plays Ahsoka. And so I thought that was really cool, the way that it kept showing like side shots of them fighting, and you can just see how imposing and big he is, and he's got that big kind of broadsword stance.
Yes.
But another interesting thing is Dave Filoni has talked at length, or at least on a couple occasions, about how Anakin trained Ahsoka to fight larger opponents, and how that came into play later when she fights him as Darth Vader, and he's now like this 8-foot tall monster that's so much larger than her, and she has the skills to defeat him. And so those very same skills are translating here with Baylan being such like a larger and imposing presence. So I thought that was cool.
That is super sick. I didn't even think of that. I mean, I definitely saw the size difference, but that's as far as my brain went.
Right.
But that makes sense. That's cool.
Well, I only thought of it because she kept like jumping off the rocks and like swinging for his face. And I was like, dude, she just goes for face shots because when she is dueling Darth Vader in Rebels, she knocks off that part of his mask and we see his eyes, whatever.
Right.
So that's what made me think of it.
Yeah. And I mean, along with that, I loved that lightsaber battle.
Yeah,
it was
great.
Really good. I thought it was choreographed great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are there better? Yeah, but I think it was good. We haven't seen a good one in a while.
Right.
So, cool.
And you see a couple of her signature moves that she uses in animation. I mean, I can't name all of them, but there's one where she like presses up against a wall behind her with one foot and like pushes with her hands. Yes. And you've seen that in animation before on the Siege of Mandalore. So really cool. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah. Going along, just kind of down my list, one thing I was so happy they did, we kind of talked about it, is when Shin Hati's got Sabine on the ground on the ropes, and she lifts up. She definitely is trying to access the Force.
Yes.
And we were like, oh, no way. Here we go again. She gets it in the moment because she needs it, which would be, consistent with the Force. But
yeah,
it's been so foreshadowed that she's not good at it.
Right.
And we're like, oh, that's going to really bug me if it goes through. And she closes her fist and shoots the missiles. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
They know that that's for her character. That was perfect. I loved it.
It was. And it's also cool because of the Jedi Mandalorian Civil Wars, like all of Mandalorian tech is designed to kill Jedi, you know? And so that's like a perfect use of it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Awesome. Yeah, it's super sick.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're reminded of that as well when she hits her in the arm and it bounces off. You're like, oh yeah, Beskar.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
That's why this is all formed, because of that. So it's super cool.
And I thought it was for sure. I just kind of want Sabine to die in this series. I know that's like messed up, and I like her as a character, but there was this shot where Sabine's helmet is lying on the ground, and in the background you see Hati like gaining, like advancing on her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, dude, I hope that's like alluding to she's about to get her head chopped off or whatever. Like, I just think that would be a great motivator for Ahsoka. And we see just seconds later when Ahsoka thinks that Shin Hati killed Sabine, she like turns it up against Baylan. So,
I want to go with that a little bit more if you would like.
Yeah, please.
I just think that story-wise would be so crazy. Because people have talked about how like they feel like this isn't about Ahsoka, it's been about Sabine the whole time. And what a great way to lure you into this character. You're like, oh, we're going more towards her than we are Ahsoka. She's kind of like a standby. Kill her, which then puts your whole focus on Ahsoka. Like, oh, now she's got something to go for. That would be amazing.
That would be great.
Yeah. So I like it.
It would also be a great motivator for Ezra too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because now I'm getting ahead of us a little bit, but now Sabine is with Baylan Skoll, Shin Hati, and Morgan Elsbeth, going presumably to where Thrawn is directly.
Right.
So if Thrawn somehow is responsible for Sabine's death as well, that could be another tie-in for Ezra, a motivator for him to defeat Thrawn with Ahsoka. So we'll have to see.
No, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's another little. Yeah, I think that's perfect. We just kind of
a little later. Yeah.
And you kind of touched on it. Like, I love that Ahsoka got mad and like she's not a Jedi, so she can pull off of both those things.
Yeah,
light and dark. You could be so powerful if you can really not let the dark side lure you in. Oh my God, you could be so powerful.
Oh, and I think it's so sick when she like force chokes Shin Hati and like forces her up against that rock.
Kind of hot.
I thought she like broke her neck. Yeah, it was hot. Way hot. I thought she broke her neck. I was like, dang, that's sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Super good. So I was going to ask, when do you think we have to see Thrawn next episode. I feel like we're getting to the end. Unless they really want to bridge that, like push to season 2, then they would do that, but I don't think they would. I feel like they shouldn't, at least.
I don't think they should either. I think we need to see Thrawn. Well, I don't want to get ahead of us again. Let's finish.
Okay.
Because I've only got a few more notes, and then let's talk about that. So let's put a little pin.
Circle back.
Pin.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we see them fight. She injures Shin Hati, and Baylan Skoll is like advancing on Ahsoka. Sabine shows up, And Ahsoka's like, destroy the map, whatever, because
Right.
they haven't gotten all the coordinates yet. Baylan gains the upper hand and throws her off the cliff.
Right.
Okay. And so nobody dies in Star Wars. They didn't make a big thing of it. So,
Exactly. Real quick, just super note. Would you think it would have been worse or better if they did super just like hold off on that cliff for a while and like have a huge piercing scream from Sabine? Going, no, and it holds, and like you really think she's dead. Because then I think if they did that, it's enough that you're like, oh, they're not going to kill the main character. But you're like, this is bigger than just cliff back to her like it was. I don't know.
It was a really quick transition. My question is, did she die? Because like,
she is in the
well, she's in the world between worlds.
I guess she could.
And the last time we saw her there was when she got killed by Vader, presumably, right?
Right.
She died in that fight.
She was inevitably going to die until
Ezra got her out.
So maybe,
So maybe she did die.
Maybe Anakin was just waiting for the fall and grab
her.
Which would make sense because I think you wouldn't survive that fall.
Right. No. Yeah.
So that would make more sense that she's dead.
Yeah, of course, like the series is called Ahsoka, so I wouldn't think that she would die 4 episodes in. But if they would have lingered on it a little bit more, it would have meant a little bit more to me.
Same. I would have been a little bit more inclined to believe it.
Right.
Anyway, sorry. Keep going.
No, that was pretty much it. So we see that she dies. Apparently, Sabine is persuaded to go with Baylan Skoll, Shin, Hati, and Morgan Elsbeth to the new galaxy. She does that. The next scene we see it was actually a really cool transition.
Yes, super awesome.
So we are an aerial shot. Yeah, they hired the TikTok guy. Aerial shot into the waves, and those waves transition into pretty much Ahsoka lying there, standing up, and she's in the world between worlds. And we were like freaking out, you know? I always say that I don't like cameos in Star Wars. Like, they get too heavy, and I don't like callbacks to whatever. But when it like pans out and we see the world between worlds, we were like freaking out.
Yeah.
And then she's standing there and she hears, and both of us. So I knew that Hayden Christensen at least had something in this, because when he's been asked about it, he is not very good at denying.
No.
Like, he's just too honest of a soul.
He's just a cute little guy.
He's just not really denying it at all. He's like, I can't say anything about that, which means yes, of course.
Yeah.
So we knew Hayden was going to be in this at some point. We assumed. So you start hearing his voice, and when he called her Snips, dude, I was like, gosh, that's killer. But I thought it was just going to be a vision, you know.
Same,
like when Ezra's passing through the world between worlds, he just sees like glimpses of things.
Exactly.
I thought it was that, and then pans around, Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker.
Oh my gosh,
standing right there, super sick. He looks way better than he did in the Obi-Wan. They must have de-aged him a little bit, or just better makeup or something. But awesome payoff.
Oh my dude. It was one of those moments that I'm like, I wish I could relive that again, because that was so awesome. We both were like, I teared up. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, because it's just also the fact that like Hayden Christensen, all of this hate, you know, for years, and now he's finally getting the love he deserves, and it's just amazing.
Yeah,
and the charismatic of him. I just want to say this real quick. How he, even in those 2 lines, is like the Clone Wars Anakin.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my goodness. It's not the prequel Anakin, it's the Clone Wars Anakin. You're like, oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and great point. Again, shouts out to Matt Lanter and Ashley Eckstein for like making these characters lovable. Because, you know, the last time we saw Anakin like this, the dialogue was crappy. You know, he was an awkward teen. That's how George Lucas wrote him, whatever.
Yeah.
But we've really grown to love these characters through the Clone Wars, through Rebels and all that stuff. And those voice actors, kind of sucks that they don't have a part in this, but it has led to a perfect build-up for Hayden Christensen and Rosario Dawson. So that hit me hard, man. I was like, geez,
beautiful.
This is awesome. So yeah, this next episode, this is circling back to that pin.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're 4 episodes in. I would be content if this 5th episode was some kind of conversation between Ahsoka and Anakin, and we spend a lot of time with them in the world between worlds, or in some capacity where they're talking and not that much is going on.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I think we need to see Thrawn and see a lot of him this next episode.
Right. I think kind of going what you're going on, I think it's going to be a lot of Ahsoka and Anakin talking and cutting back to
Yeah.
Sabine with Scroll and Hati.
Yeah.
So, and of course, leading to Thrawn, getting to Thrawn.
Right. And we really don't know that much about the world between worlds.
We don't. One thing I want to point out, people are smart. They thought, oh, it's going to have the world between worlds probably underneath this because it's always under like a sacred Jedi temple and all that stuff. And it was, which is, maybe it's not under it and she did die and go to it. I don't know. But regardless,
I have no idea.
It's from there. So from that position she was at. So
that's something I just don't know that much about.
Right. We don't. We have no idea.
Like when Ezra is traversing it in Rebels, he's able to save Ahsoka, but presumably he'd be able to save Kanan from certain death at some other point. But for whatever reason, I think it's explained somewhere he can't.
He can't. It is. Ahsoka explains it to him, weirdly enough.
Okay.
She says, you can't pull him out because then he doesn't sacrifice himself for you, and therefore you die.
Oh, so it's just like a time travel paradox.
Travel, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Time travel makes sense.
Yeah. Totally makes sense. Well, right, Joss?
So I'd be interested to see like how. So the Anakin that Ahsoka's with right now, what Anakin is that?
Right.
Like, he's dressed like Clone Wars Anakin.
Absolutely.
Well,
I think he's in his getup, his little
because he had the exposed arm, which he. I can't remember.
It was so short. We were so in.
I know. I was just freaking
back
out.
And look,
I was just looking at his face. Yeah, we'll have to go back and look. I would assume it's Clone Wars Anakin.
But yeah, so is it? Can they? Well, and this is the other thing I'm wondering. Does this go into Force Ghost? Is this?
That's what I was.
Force Ghost can watch and they can step out into that moment and talk to them and come back.
I would assume it's not Force Ghost Anakin.
Right, but
why is he just standing there in the middle of the world between worlds? He's not like in one of those portals.
It'll
be really interesting to see.
I'm excited to see.
This is the first time in a long time I've been excited about, a Star Wars cliffhanger.
Absolutely. Yeah. No.
Which it feels so stupid because I know it's just a cameo. It's just a play on my emotions that Dave Filoni just does.
He knows.
But like this really reminded me of, Luke Skywalker popping up at the end of Mandalorian season 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like that brought me to tears, and I was dude, I don't know why this is getting me so emotional. This same thing. I was just like, man, this is. You can hate on it all you want, but when they're characters that you love that much, it means a lot to see them again. So very cool. So I'm excited to see what their relationship will be like if he knows what's going on with her.
Yeah,
which he's got. I don't know.
It's gonna. We're gonna get videos upon videos this whole week going into theories of what it could be, but I don't know. Is it an Anakin that comes from a certain point of time, or is it an Anakin who's lived his life? He was Darth Vader, and he's the redeemed Anakin, the Force Ghost you see at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Right.
I could see that as well. I don't know.
I would like that a lot.
I would too. Like it's like he's so matured. Like no, this is me. This is the Anakin you fought. This is the Darth Vader you saw, and I've redeemed myself, and I've come back. I don't know. I'm excited.
Yeah, that's a great point because it would be kind of bittersweet if like she was able to communicate with him like this, knowing that later she has to fight him and like he's the reason that she dies essentially.
Right.
So.
And I don't know. Anyway, which this is a total side note I just thought of. Remember how Obi-Wan in A New Hope, when Darth Vader kills him, he just gone.
Yeah.
I wonder when Darth Vader and Ahsoka are fighting, and she gets pulled out to the world between worlds. Is that what happened to her? Did she just go away because he swings and she's gone? And does that mean? It's total theory, but what if they get pulled into the world between worlds when that happens and it's kind of gone?
That would be interesting.
It's interesting. We'll see.
Because it also happens to Luke in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And presumably he's just a Force ghost. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm excited. It's a whole. We talk about don't make it too complex, but when it does kind of pop up, you do want to poke in. I know. You want to get more into know what's going on.
I really wish I was more of an expert on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's the niche, deep doctrine.
But it's cool because it's being built. Like I think the world between worlds, even in Rebels, was meant to be kind of like this mysterious, misunderstood thing. So it's cool that like in real time we're getting to learn more about it.
Yeah, because like I think it'd be awesome if she goes, "What is this?" Like she's like, "I've been here before, but what is this?" And he's like, "Honestly, I don't know. You can see everything and be everywhere. I'm here, and I'm not sure."
Oh, man.
that would be cool because it's still just this whole mystery of what it is. He's supposed to be there for the moment.
And this would be great because now I guess they could probably use that to get to Ezra, right?
Yeah.
Because the map's destroyed. There's, apparently no other way to get to where Ezra and Thrawn are.
Yeah, there's not.
So does Anakin help her navigate that space to get to Ezra?
Well, now, Hera did put a tracker on the hyperdrive. What happened to that? I don't remember. Is that still in play? Because that'd be the only other way, but that's so far, I don't think you could still have a reception.
From what I would understand, they needed to map coordinates through hyperspace. Like they knew the destination that whole time. But all of that time was making a map through hyperspace.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
So they would need to figure that out.
But the route, yeah.
We also know Purgle live right there on Cetos. So
they could just wait for him.
So yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited. It'll be good. This episode has done some redemption of the series for me.
Absolutely, yeah.
Maybe that's why they waited till the 4th. Put you right in the middle. I just have some last bullet points, but do you have anything else?
No, that's mine.
One thing I did like, Sabine in the cuffs reminded me of Han when he was in the cuffs.
Nice.
Return of the Jedi. And I guess also Empire Strikes Back because he gets put in there before. I'm thinking of both. I was thinking of when he was on are they at Tatooine? Yeah, they are on Tatooine. When he's on the little, they're fighting Boba Fett.
Yes, on the little barge, yeah.
He's blind. Anyway, that's what I was thinking, but I remember right before he goes in, he's also in the cuffs.
Right.
But it reminded me when they were walking. And then also, I guess you could also throw Luke in, that he was in that.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Cool. This is what I was going to say. I like where we are right now with this episode. We're at the Empire Strikes Back episode. All is lost kind of a thing,
Great point.
Sabine is gone. Ahsoka she's in the world between worlds. Hera is just kind of there. Mm-hmm. She's picking up Gu Yang. So it's just like, it's one of those episodes where everything's lost, and it's cool. That's what people love The Empire Strikes Back, so I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I think that's it, because the other thing was the world between worlds, which we dove into. So
okay, sick. One last thing I did realize I have.
Throw it on.
We get that beautiful Hayden Christensen Anakin smile.
Absolutely.
And then the screen cuts to black, and we hear Darth Vader's theme.
Yes.
So, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Maybe this Anakin isn't an ally in the world between worlds. Maybe there is some kind of darker presence there.
Oh, that's right. It totally did.
Yeah.
So is he? I don't know.
We'll see.
Well,
I want it to be Tuesday.
I know. It's the first time I want a Tuesday, dude. I don't know. Well, guys, that's our theories, our thoughts, our Easter eggs, if you would, on the episode. Again, we've changed our recording to just right after, so we will post on Wednesdays. So keep open, keep posted.
Yeah, feel free if you're listening. Go ahead and email us, comment below, or reach out to us any other way on our socials or whatever. Give us some of your theories, what you think is going on. We're going to do some research this week. Like Spenny said, all of those professionals are going to be posting all week about it. So deep. I can't wait to hear what they have to say. So yeah, I'm excited. Let us know what you guys think.
All right. Well,
one more thing.
Give it to me.
I was just thinking, man, I want it to be Tuesday. A lot's going to happen between now and Tuesday for us. Spenny's doing a half marathon.
I am doing a half marathon,
which is awesome.
I might not make it back.
Yeah, Spencer's going to be dead before next week. I'm doing a triathlon, so I'll probably drown.
Yeah, you might not be making it back. This might be the last episode we ever have.
Yeah, so signing off forever. Just kidding. But yeah, please, in the meantime, let us know your thoughts. Give us some ideas on what to talk about, because we're just locked into Ahsoka and excited to talk about it, but we want to hear different angles on it. So
absolutely.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, thank you for being a disciple of the Force. That was a good episode.
Oh yeah.
One of our best.